I didn't hear one. And if the Conservatives aren't ashamed of that record, if they can't openly admit their role in breaking Britain, if they can't take accountability and show some interest...
What you just saw wasn't a misunderstanding or a bad choice of words. It was a senior Conservative politician being asked a simple, unavoidable question and refusing to answer it. Not because the question was unfair, and not because it was unclear, but because answering it would mean admitting responsibility. This moment matters because it exposes how political failure is handled in Britain today. When confronted with the record, the instinct isn't honesty or accountability. It's evasion, it's deflection, and it's an attempt to talk past the public rather than answer them. Watch what happens next, in sequence, because this isn't a one-off slip, it's a pattern playing out in real time.
Job for them. Net zero, one of the most damaging energy and economic policies. You guessed it, Tory policy. The Chagos surrender deal, embarrassing our nation and costing you billions of pounds. That was Tory policy headed up by James Cleverly, the now shadow housing minister. Non-crime hate incidents. They were formalised and expanded under the Tories. GDP per capita has flatlined since 2008. Of course, since then, it's all been under, mostly, their watch. The woke civil service and more transfer of powers to unelected bureaucrats, that happened under the Tories. 1.2 million migrants let into Britain in 1 year. The Boris wave, it is dubbed. That is Tory policy. In fact, Priti Patel, the shadow foreign secretary, still won't apologise for it in subsequent interviews since they left office. HS2 and Heathrow, the Heathrow third runway. The Tories couldn't even get those built in 14 years. The social care crisis, that's Tory record. The online safety bill, that's Tory policy. No new prisons built whilst importing millions of people. That is, again, Tory policy. The illegal migration crisis, they couldn't even agree on the Rwanda bill. That's Tory policy. Vaccine passports, the Orwellian precursors to digital ID. That's Tory policy too. Failure to deliver Brexit as people desired it, alienating Northern Ireland and leaving us now open to more alignment with the EU. That is Tory record. In fact, Kemi Badenoch, as business secretary, was responsible for overseeing the retained EU law bill, which was meant to burn all of the EU legislation holding back our country. She watered that down and has now given Keir Starmer an easy ride to sell Brexit out to the EU today. One new hospital built in 14 years. That is all of that. Just some of the Tory track record in 14 years of government. Britain is broken. In a recent poll, 58% of people think nothing in Britain works anymore. 76% said that things are worse now than in the past. And 97% of GB News viewers, you watching at home, said you believe Britain is broken too. So my strong opinion...
Tell your audience is that it's quite clear that Robert Jenrick tells a lot of lies, and you can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. This is a man who was asked yesterday morning, are you going to defect? And he said never to the chief whip when we found evidence of the speeches he was going to give. And why has all this happened? Because he's fallen out with people, and those people have brought stuff to us. And I won't say much more than that, but the truth is that this is someone who gave a speech yesterday complaining about things that were already there when he was standing to be leader.
I didn't hear an answer to my question. I didn't hear one. And if the Conservatives aren't ashamed of that record, if they can't openly admit their role in breaking Britain, if they can't take accountability and show some introspection, if they can't apologise, then they do not deserve to go.
I think that there is a move now as a kind of political strategy by the Conservatives and Labour to try and angle criticism at reform for saying Britain is broken on the basis that it is talking Britain down. It's not. It is simply being realistic. If you don't analyse and admit an issue and a problem, you've got no chance of actually repairing it. So you've just gone through a very, very comprehensive list of policy failure, effectively, and things that this government and the previous one in particular have done that have led us into a place where now we can no longer call ourselves Great Britain. I mean, you're too young, but I can actually still remember when we were called Great Britain. But how anyone can say that Britain now compared to 20 years ago, 30 years ago,
Yes.
40 years ago, is not broken. I mean, they're living under a rock.
Yeah.
Disagree. Is actually, I think this is a great country to live in. I really do. I travel a lot, and this is, you know, it is not broken. We should stop talking down our country, and we should start being a little bit more proud of our country. Obviously, Russell himself was a Tory through all of this period and was quite happy with it at the time.
No, I wasn't. I haven't been a Tory for 10 years.
10 years. Well, a lot of that was you were still there. But
That's why I left the
we are
Tories.
not a broken country.
That they got wrong. And what I want to see is introspection in political parties when they're booted dramatically out of office, a thumping for them to go, maybe we should just reflect on that and apologise. Now, I haven't seen those apologies for the 1.2 million people brought into Britain when they're building no homes, new prisons, new hospitals. And that's my...
This wasn't just an interview. It was a moment where the mask slipped. You saw a politician cornered by a simple truth and choosing avoidance over honesty. You heard the deflection, the character attacks, and the refusal to engage with the substance of the question. And you felt the hesitation, because it wasn't about wording, it was about fear. This is a pattern. Failure followed by denial. Damage followed by excuses. When the public says something is broken, the political class doesn't reflect, it resists. You are told Britain isn't broken while services collapse around you. You are told things are working while living standards flatline. And you are told to be optimistic by the very people who refuse to apologize. This is why trust is gone. Not because people hate their country, but because they recognize dishonesty when they see it. You cannot rebuild a country while pretending nothing went wrong. You cannot ask for power again without first accepting blame. Until that happens, interviews like this will keep ending the same way, with evasion, frustration, and a public that no longer believes a word of it. So ask yourself honestly, is this incompetence? Or is it cowardice? And would you trust people like this to run the country again? If this reflected what you're seeing, like the video, subscribe for more unfiltered political verdicts, and turn on the bell, because this pattern isn't stopping.